On our Book Talk segment on Talk Across America. Great to welcome best-selling author, and he's got another great Quinn Colson novel out, very popular series, and this one is called The Sinners. And we're joined today by Ace Atkins. And Ace, good to talk with you. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Good to talk with you, too.
Yeah, good to have you with us. And I know in a previous life you were down in our area. I'm in just south of Tampa Bay. You were with a couple of newspapers in our area. So good to have you have a chance to talk to you.
Yeah, no, I know Tampa very well. I lived there for a long while, and I loved it down there. I worked for the Tampa Tribune, and for a very brief time, I worked for the St. Pete Times. So it's like home down there.
Yeah, just one paper left now, unfortunately.
I know. Sadly, and I spent pretty much all my career at the Tampa Tribune, and it was a wonderful paper, and such sad news to hear that it had ceased publication. It was great training ground for me as a young person.
Yeah, when I came down to Florida, I grew up in New York, came down here and did some stringing for the Tribune briefly in the sports department. So it was some great people worked there. Yeah, back in the late 80s.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, great. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about your book. And first of all, congratulations on just the success of the series. This is number 8, right, in the Quinn Colson series.
Yep, it is. It's I left Tampa about. It was 20 years ago, and I left the Tribune, and I moved to. I'm originally from the South. I'm originally from Alabama. I went to Auburn University, and I came to Oxford, Mississippi, which is a great haven for writers. And I did a little teaching in the journalism school here, but mainly I was just writing, working on novels. And so, returning to the Deep South from being in Florida, started writing about 10 years ago this series about the sheriff in small town Mississippi, Quinn Colson, and now, lo and behold, we're coming up on 8 years of doing this.
And again, as we said, you covered the crime beat in the Tampa area, so that had to help you at least as far as coming up with some ideas, right?
I know every bad neighborhood, in Hillsborough County. I can tell you, I go on a tour of Hillsborough County and tell you where people were shot on different corners, but I love it too. I really miss it, and it was a great place to write about.
But that gave you the, I guess, a lot of impetus for creating stories as well, right? That gave you good backlog.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've covered I used to go down to the jail every day. I covered the Tampa Police Department. I covered the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. Used to cover stuff over in Pinellas too, and so yeah, it's a familiar ground. One of these days, I think I'm going to come back around. And now I live in Mississippi. I'll come back and write about Florida a little bit.
Again, I don't like to give away too much when we talk about novels, so I won't. But I know obviously this Quinn Colson is a former U.S. Army Ranger, became a sheriff. But give a brief synopsis of the story as much as you can.
Yeah, I mean, for those of your listeners not familiar with the series, pretty simple setup. Quinn Colson. Army veteran, Army Ranger, comes back home to a small town in Mississippi where he grew up, and after leaving that town when he was a teenager, right after high school, comes back 10, 12 years later, and he finds out that the county is in even worse shape from when he left it. And his uncle has been killed under mysterious circumstances. There's tentacles of all kinds of graft and corruption, things that he didn't even understand were going on as a young person. And ultimately, through the series, he becomes sheriff, taking over for his uncle and trying to kind of right the wrongs of things that are going on in that community. And so it's really kind of a mirror of what's going on right now in a lot of small-town America, rural America, not that different probably from parts of the Panhandle in Florida. Graft, corruption, racism, poverty, all the bad stuff. And Quinn is one of the good guys trying to make a difference.
Yeah. And how about the title, The Sinners? I guess, any crook is a sinner, but does that have any special meaning?
The sinners, I think there's a lot of sinners in the book. There's marijuana dealers, and there's prostitutes, and there's it's the seedy underbelly. And I hate to say it, I probably won't be back to talk to the Tampa Chamber of Commerce, but I got to meet a lot of those people covering the crime beat in Tampa. But it's fun, it's a crime book, and ultimately, even though it takes on some weighty issues, I think there's a nice dose of dark humor in it.
When you again, this is the 8th in the series, and again, I like to ask novelists this, and as the main character, obviously, but other characters, do they grow and change as you write them?
Yeah, everything changes in Tibawa County, and it's not one of those static worlds that you go to and everything is different each book. I mean, when you start off, you can read the books, separately and read them in different order or whatever, but you do definitely get something out of it when you read the entire series. You see people come and go across the county. You see people in Quinn's life come and go and change. And, Quinn has changed himself. I mean, he's 10 years out of the Army. He's a veteran, sheriff in a small county. He's no longer, trying to find his feet in this job. In fact, this particular novel, he's actually getting married. And so, yeah, it's a continuing story. It's not like separate novels. It's like I'm writing one long story. I mean, for people who, watch shows like Breaking Bad or, Deadwood or,
right.
Where you continue to follow these characters and things build upon other events. That's kind of what I do.
I guess I imagine too. When you write the dialogue, you write the way the people speak there. That must be kind of fun as a writer to do that part of the story, right?
Absolutely, and I love listening. I used to, everything from, my background is of taking down notes and writing down exactly the way people speak, and reading court transcripts and FBI wiretaps. And
right.
I learned a lot about, the way people really talk, not the way people talk in movies or in some books, but really how they talk. And, I think that sometimes it's funny and sometimes it's enlightening and sometimes it's profane and it's everything. It's just how people really talk. And, occasionally I'll get letters from people say, I can't believe, you have these horrible words in your book. But the truth of it is, I hate to break it to them, but criminals occasionally have kind of salty vocabulary. These are crime books, and they are filled with bad people. And bad people kind of have an edge to them. But, yeah, it's fun, and I like that. I think I enjoy writing the dialogue more than anything.
Yeah, I guess until we saw shows like The Sopranos, all criminals on TV, they never cursed. So,
yes, no.
Not exactly accurate as far as that goes.
The Sinners is kind of like the Southern Sopranos, for sure.
That's right. Well, it's another in the great series of books, again, as we said, Quinn Colson. Now, before we let you go, I got to ask you a little bit about, you played football for Auburn, their undefeated team. So do you still follow the game, follow your old school?
Not as much as you would think. I think I got kind of OD'd on football when I was there, and I cannot believe it. I used to joke about it. I've been writing full time 20 years. I used to joke about being a football player in the past or whatever, and that was 5 years ago, 4 years from when I played football. Now it has been 25 years. I cannot believe it. It's even hard for me to say it. I live in Oxford, Mississippi, where the home of University of Mississippi and Ole Miss is.
Right.
When Auburn comes to town this year, I certainly will be at the game, and I will be enjoying that. But I'm not necessarily a dedicated fan. Occasionally, I'll be asked to write to some kind of retrospective or whatever the football season of Auburn, and I have to tell the people, I'm sorry, I could not tell you who's playing anymore. These kids. That used to be the joke that they were in diapers, when I was playing, but now they weren't even born yet. So it's a different world.
Yeah. We're in a hotbed of football. There's no doubt about that in the Southeast. But,
no doubt.
Anyway, we want to get the people to check out the book. Again, it's called The Sinners, a Quinn Colson novel. We've been talking with Ace Atkins today. Ace, I guess you have a website, right? Direct people to?
Absolutely. Go to aceatkins.com or find me on Facebook. Not a lot of writers named Ace Atkins, so easily found.
It's almost a character you could have in a book, that name. It's a great name.
It is. It almost sounds like a character name. I'll tell you a story real quickly.
That's it.
Ace Atkins has always been the name I've gone under. My dad's nickname was Ace. And when I first came to work for the St. Pete Times as a stringer right out of college, there's a wonderful editor there named John Wilson, and John said, I will get you as much work as you can handle, and I will hire you, but don't ever change your byline. Yeah, right. And I promised John I wouldn't. I've stuck to that.
That's great. Well, Ace, pleasure talking to you. Always good to talk to somebody that was down in our area, so we'll do it again hopefully down the road, but thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, and hopefully soon, and I will be in the St. Pete area this fall in November for the Tampa Bay Times Festival of Reading.
Great. Look for you then. Thanks, Ace.
Thank you.